Welcome to the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala. You are listening to the live audio description feed. The event will begin in approximately 10 minutes. A collection of slides rotate, providing information about the Bazelon Center. Text appears inside a golden frame around a background of dark blue and navy light rays, dotted with golden shimmer. Gold sponsors: Baker, Hostetler, PNC, Bank of America, Reed Smith. Silver sponsors: Brown, Goldstein and Levy, Dignity Memorial, Essential Accessibility, Sarah Kenigsberger, Rosen, Bien, Galvin and Grunfeld LLP, Golden Group LLC. Bronze sponsors: Highmark, Media Associates, Vanguard Communications. Thank you to our Board of Trustees: Eve Hill, Christopher Fregiato, Eileen A. Bazelon, Don Bursoff, Maisha Braden, Joyce Bender, Jill Bazelon, Maria Rodriguez, Glenda Wren, Sarah Kenigsberg, Elizabeth B. McCallum, Ellen R. Sachs, Sarah Vincent, Joshua Verdi, Harvey Rosenthal, Nancy Lane, Rachel Molly Joseph. Thank you to our staff, including Christian Ailman, Kathy Chamberlain, Holly O'Donnell, Stephen Shannon, Louis Bossing, Anusha Duda, Monica Porter. Welcome to the Bazelon Center's Gala. www.bazelon.org or at Bazelon Center. To donate, visit www.bazelon.org/donate. Gold sponsors: Baker Hostetler, Bank of America, PNC, Reed Smith, driving progress through partnership. Silver sponsors, including Sarah Kenigsberg, GAO, the Georgia Advocacy Office, Essential Accessibility, Rosen, Bien, Galvin and Grunfeld LLP, Dignity Memorial. Bronze sponsors, including Edge Factory Creative Works, Elevance Health, Vanguard Communications, Goodwin, Gilbert Employment Law, Bender Consulting Services, Media Associates. Thank you to our Board of Trustees: Eve Hill, Christopher Fregiato, Eileen A. Bazelon, Don Bursoff, Maisha Braden, Joyce Bender, Jill Bazelon, Glenda Wren, Sarah Kenigsberg, Elizabeth B. McCallum, Ellen R. Sachs, Sarah Vinson, Rachel Molly Joseph, Nancy Lane, Harvey Rosenthal, Joshua Verdi. Thank you to our staff, including Jalen Radzyminski, Abby Jordan, Ira Burnham, Louis Bossing, Anusha Duda, Monica Porter, Britt Vanneman. Welcome, the Judge David L. Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law. Thank you to our Board of Trustees, including Glenda Wren, Rachel Molly Joseph, Sarah Kenigsberg, Nancy Lane, Elizabeth B. McCallum, Harvey Rosenthal, Joshua Perry, Ellen R. Sachs. Thank you to our staff, including Christian Ailman, Kathy Chamberlain, Holly O'Donnell, Stephen Shannon, Britt Vanneman, Monica Porter, Anusha Duda, Louis Bossing. To donate, visit www.bazelon.org/donate. bazelon.org/donate. The Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law 2022 Annual Awards. Gold sponsors: Baker Hostetler, PNC, Bank of America, Reed Smith, driving progress through partnership. Silver sponsors, including Essential Accessibility, Dignity Memorial, Rosen, Bien, Galvin and Grunfeld LLP, Sarah Kenigsberg, Georgia Advocacy Office, Golden Group LLC. Bronze sponsors, including Bender Consulting Services, BRG, Edge Factory Creative Works, Elevance Health, Vanguard Communications, Media Associates, Highmark, Goodwin, Gilbert Employment Law. Thank you to our Board of Trustees, including Maria Rodriguez, Jill Bazelon, Joyce Bender, Aisha Braden, Don Bursoff, Eileen A. Bazelon, Christopher Fregiato, Eve Hill, Glenda Wren, Sarah Kenigsberg, Elizabeth B. McCallum, Ellen R. Sachs, Sarah Vinson, Joshua Verdi, Harvey Rosenthal, Nancy Lane, Rachel Molly Joseph. Thank you to our staff, including Louis Bossing, Anashua Duda, Monica Porter, Britt Vanneman, Ira Burnham, Abby Jordan, Jalen Radziminski, Christian Ailman, Kathy Chamberlain. Welcome. To donate, visit www.bazelon.org/donate. Good evening and welcome to the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala. You are listening to the live audio feed. A collection of slides rotate, providing information about the Bazelon Center. Text appears inside a golden frame around a background of dark blue and navy light rays, dotted with golden shimmer. Thank you to our Board of Trustees, Eve Hill, Christopher Fregiato, Eileen A. Bazelon, Don Bursoff, Maisha Spender, Jill Bazelon, Maria Rodriguez, Rachel Molly Joseph, Nancy Lane, Harvey Rosenthal, Joshua Verde, Sarah Vinson, Ellen R. Sachs, Elizabeth B. McCallum, Sarah Kenigsberg, Glenda Wren. Thank you to our staff, including Christian Ailman, Kathy Chamberlain, Holly O'Donnell, Stephen Shannon, Britt Vanneman, Monica Porter, Anashua Duda, Louis Bossing, Ira Burnham, Abby Jordan, and Jalen Radziminski. To donate, visit www.bazelon.org/donate.
Welcome. Our program will begin in 5 minutes.
Good evening and welcome to the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala. You are listening to the live audio description feed. The event will begin in approximately 5 minutes. A countdown appears inside a golden frame around the background of dark blue and navy light rays, dotted with golden shimmer. The countdown is currently at 4:30. At the bottom left corner of the screen is an inset video that shows the ASL interpreters. Along the bottom of the screen is a white box that'll have black text showing the live captioning for the event. Good evening and welcome to the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala. You are listening to the live audio description feed. The event will begin in approximately 3 minutes. A countdown appears inside a golden frame around a background of dark blue and navy light rays, dotted with golden shimmer.
Welcome. Our program will begin in just a few moments. Tonight, we have American Sign Language interpreting and captioning at the bottom of your screen. For audio description, please click the link in the event description below. Please contact communications@bazelon.org if you need assistance.
Countdown ends and the logo for tonight's event appears. Next, host Jonathan Capehart appears, Associate Editor of the Washington Post and MSNBC anchor. He is a black man with short blue hair wearing eyeglasses and a dark blue suit and tie. He is seated in a white room. Behind him are two layers and a photograph of a sunset.
Welcome to the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala. Please welcome tonight's MC, Jonathan Capehart.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Jonathan Capehart and I'll be your host for this year's virtual gala. Tonight, we launch the official 50-year celebration of the Bazelon Center, an organization that has advocated for the civil rights, full inclusion, and equality of adults and children with mental disabilities. Your support of the Bazelon Center has made tonight possible, which is a free and open event to individuals across the country. The Bazelon Center has been pivotal to expanding the civil rights movement to include fighting discrimination against and segregation of people with mental health disabilities. As the organization celebrates 50 years, it will continue to fight for justice until people with mental health disabilities, especially Black, Indigenous, and people of color, live free from discrimination, ableism, racism, and with the supports and services they need to reach their full potential. Our program this evening includes national and community disability rights leaders, including Jonathan Van Ness from Queer Eye and Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness, Olympic gold medalist Laurie Hernandez, and United States Senator Bob Casey. We'll also hear from Bazelon's core advocates, including our Emerging Advocate Awardee, Innovator of the Year Awardee, Lawyer of the Year, and many special guests who are and have been instrumental to Bazelon's 50 years of impact and the 50 years ahead. In the middle of the program, we will hear from Wade Henderson, advocate, community leader, and governmental activist. Many of us know Wade from his successful tenure as the president of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. As always, his words promise to inspire, challenge, motivate, and unite. We'll end our program with a performance from Lachi, an award-winning recording artist, songwriter, and inclusion advocate. Lachi's music has debuted on national charts, aired on TV, radio, and film, and has been featured in Billboard, Forbes, New York Times, Hollywood Reporter, and Essence, to name a few. But right now, we'll hear from Bazelon CEO Holly O'Donnell, who will talk to us more about the Bazelon Center's mission and how you can be a part of this movement. Holly's lifelong advocacy for people with disabilities and commitment to this mission is deeply personal, inspired by her family, including her younger brother, Brendan, who has a disability. So please welcome Bazelon's CEO, Holly O'Donnell.
Holly is live in the studio, seated in front of black curtains, lit blue and gold.
Thank you, Jonathan. We sure appreciate you being here tonight. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bazelon Center's Awards. Big congratulations to all of our awardees. And thank you for joining us tonight. We've been watching your registrations fly in. Hundreds of you are here from across the United States and the world. Nicaragua, Venezuela, Canada, we see you. And in Callicoon, New York, hundreds more people are watching this together at the NIAPERS conference. Louis Bossing, our senior attorney, is with Harvey Rosenthal, one of our awardees and our board member, and so many of our friends. For my image description, I'm a white woman with brown hair. I'm wearing gold hoops, a navy dress, a navy jacket, and like a true Washingtonian, I have on my sneakers. Tonight, together with you, we are launching our 50th year, a remarkable milestone for a small but influential and far-reaching organization. Over 5 decades, the Bazelon Center has had an outsized impact on law and policy, improving the lives of people with mental disabilities. Whether you've been around for decades, and Charlie Halperin, a founder, is here tonight, or you're joining for the first time, tonight you will gain a deeper understanding of the significant progress that has been made. And you will be challenged to think about and asked to support the critical work ahead. I want to thank our Board of Trustees, past and present, and especially our current board chair, Eve Hill, who we hear from tonight and who talks to me every Tuesday at 10 a.m. And I want to thank the staff, past and present, the Mental Health Law Project folks and the Bazelonians, and of course, our current team, Ira, Lewis, Kathy, Jalen, Monica, Britt, and Anashua. And a special thanks to all the legal interns, past and present. Our comms interns are all over social media tonight, so you can join them there. And of course, I want to thank the individuals, foundations, and corporations who invest in our legal advocacy, value our results, and most importantly, understand that systemic change requires persistence and patience. Making tonight's event possible are a lot of sponsors. Our gold sponsors are Baker and Hostetler, Bank of America, PNC, and Reed Smith. Our silver sponsors are Brown Goldstein and Levy, Dignity Memorial, Essential Accessibility, Georgia Advocacy Office, Golden Group, and Rose & Bean. And we have a lot of bronze level sponsors as well that you'll see on the slides below. I turned 48 this week, and Bazelon is celebrating 50 this week. So I thought a lot about that. And I hope that in 2072, when I'm 98 and celebrating Bazelon's 100th year, the challenges of today, racism, ableism, violence, over-incarceration, COVID, healthcare, education, are part of a past chapter because of the work that we are doing today and in the years ahead. While tonight reflects the critical work we do at Bazelon, it's also time to have a little fun. And I hope that everybody will stay to see Lachi's performance. She's amazing. Now join me as we watch and listen to this 50th anniversary video that was created pro bono by our board member, as we call her, Sarah Kay. Thank you.
I'm Ira Burnham. I'm the legal director of the Judge Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law. The Bazelon Center is a public interest law organization. It was founded 50 years ago in 1972. There were a lot of events that were happening kind of close in time that resulted in the Bazelon Center being founded. One was, people were beginning to understand and how bad our public institutions were, that there were abuses in state hospitals and state institutions. There were civil rights movements emerging, and people with mental disabilities and their allies kind of began to develop a movement and become part of the civil rights movement. There was a very different Supreme Court known as the Warren Court. It was headed by Chief Justice Earl Warren. And starting really in the early 60s, it started handing down decisions that created opportunities for addressing injustice through the courts, opportunities that hadn't really existed before. And partly as a result of that, public interest law and public interest law organizations began to explode. Judge Bazelon was a very well-respected and very influential judge, appointed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, which especially at the time was by far the most influential court. He was very interested in the law about mental disability. The Bazelon Center has definitely been at the forefront of the disability rights movement. In terms of mental disability, certainly the primary legal organization, advancing the civil rights, the inclusion, the equality of people with mental disabilities. There's always new and interesting challenges. I suppose some of that's a comment on our society, but people with mental disabilities face discrimination and injustice in kind of all walks of life. So, people may imagine our work is kind of focused entirely on civil commitment or the mental health system, but it isn't. We deal with education, housing, access to health care, parenting, reproductive rights. So it's kind of across the criminal justice system. I would like to see in the future the Bazelon Center to continue to have the profound impact it's had on law and policy.
The speaker, Ira, is a white man with white hair seated on a brown couch in a living room with multicolored cushions. Now a full montage of Bazelon staff members and founders, including staff testifying on the Hill, giving presentations, and smiling in offices. At the bottom, text reads, "Congratulations on 50 years."
Please welcome former Director of Policy and Legal Advocacy for the Bazelon Center, Jennifer Mathis.
I am excited to present Lifetime Advocacy Awards to 3 amazing advocates who have played key roles in advancing the rights of people with psychiatric disabilities over many years: Harvey Rosenthal, Laura Van Tosh, and posthumously, Sally Zinman. Each one of them embodies the spirit of these awards. Each of them has dedicated their lives to advancing equality, autonomy, and dignity for people with psychiatric disabilities, has advocated effectively and relentlessly over many decades through times of progress as well as times of setbacks, never giving up or giving in. Each of them has straddled the very different worlds of people with lived experience of psychiatric disability and policymakers who may have little understanding of what those experiences are like, and successfully communicated across those boundaries in ways that few others have been able to do. Each has had a remarkable impact. Sally Zinman, who was a pioneer in the consumer survivor ex-patient movement and for many years served as a board member of the Bazelon Center, passed away only weeks ago, and we are still reeling from that loss. Sally was a fighter from early on, after the truly terrible experiences she had with the mental health system, and continued right up until the end of her life. Over more than 4 decades, she had a tremendous influence on policy, most recently pushing for key changes to expand peer support services in California. Even as she held her ground through a consistently changing environment, Sally was always inclusive and welcoming of everyone in the movement, and inspired so many others to fight for their rights and dignity. Laura Van Tosh has kept at advocacy for decades in states from one coast to another. She has played many roles, from being a consultant to working for the state mental health program directors, working as a consumer affairs director at Western State Hospital in Washington State, and working for the Oregon State Health Authority. In all of those roles, she has been a savvy and staunch advocate for mental health rights, and through thick and thin, she has shown up to testify, to speak with key legislators and policymakers, to strategize, organize, and consistently influence policy. Even when others have given up, Laura is always there fighting. It is difficult to find the words to capture the admiration, gratitude, and respect I have for my dear friend and longtime Bazelon board member, Harvey Rosenthal. While Harvey has run a statewide peer provider organization in New York for many years, he has been very much a figure on the national stage, reaching a broad audience of people with lived experience, advocates, policymakers, providers, family members, and others across the country. Harvey is consistently on top of every issue and organizing rapid responses, pulling together speak-outs, writing op-ed pieces, organizing advocates, getting meetings with policymakers locally and nationally, constantly coming up with new ideas and new strategies to reach those who need to be reached. Even during the toughest times, when it felt like we were fast losing ground, Harvey always maintained the optimism and drive that keeps the greatest advocates going. He would get up at 4 a.m. to fly to Washington when we needed him to participate in key congressional meetings, and I was always grateful for his presence at those meetings, for he brought real wisdom and decades of experience in ways that no one else could. Harvey has been a guiding light for me throughout my career, and I know that I am but one of many people for whom that is true. Sally Zinman, Laura Van Tosh, and Harvey Rosenthal, we are grateful for all that you have done, and we are honored to present you with these Lifetime Advocacy Awards. And Sally, we miss you deeply, but your spirit lives on in so many others.
The 2022 Lifetime Advocacy Awardee, Harvey Rosenthal, New York Association of Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services.
Hello, I'm Harvey Rosenthal. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I am wearing a purple shirt and a black sport jacket, and I come to you today as the CEO of the New York Association of Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services, which is a partnership of peers, people who use and or provide mental health services in the community, and working together to advance recovery, rehabilitation, rights, community inclusion and integration, criminal justice reform, and cultural competence. All these premises are really central to the Bazelon Center, which is why I'm so honored to be getting this award from the Bazelon Center. They are ground zero and have been all this time for decades for promoting the rights of people with psychiatric disabilities, but across disabilities. I've been on their board for 20 years, very proud years, and I can't tell you what it means to get an award from the Bazelon Center. You want to tell me, it's a Lifetime Achievement Award, so I want to tell you a little bit about my life. If I have a career, I began it in a mental hospital as a patient on Long Island. I was there for 6 weeks for a severe depression. And at that time, I was not told my life was over. But as you'll see, folks that I work with at that time in state hospitals were being told that, and in the system throughout. So, I work in the state. I actually come up to Albany, and I wind up getting a job in the state hospital because I wanted to give back, because I wanted to prevent people from having gone through the fear and the loss and the despair that I had gone through. Eventually, I work in the state hospital, and whereas, again, I wasn't sort of told a hopeless message, people were. I was told as a worker, why are you trying so hard to work with them? They can't make relationships. They're schizophrenics. I was told they'll never work. Vocational rehab is not an option. I was told, don't feel bad when people get readmitted. It's the illness. There's nothing we could do. Nothing we could do. And I was told once by a psychiatrist, you have a high tolerance for psychopathology. What that meant was I wasn't intimidated. I understood and I cared, and I saw beyond this feeling of the other, that patient over there. So I was a peer at that time in the closet with the staff, but not with the people. Back with working with the system, it was a tough go. Eventually, I worked in outpatient clinics, and when people didn't show up, we were told to write patient not compliant, review in 3 months. Review in 3 months and take no action. That's the system. We would say they're hard to serve. It is we who were having the hard time doing it. It was our responsibility. Long story short, I became the director of a club program, a rehab program in Albany for 10 years. And then I've been in this job for 30 years. In this work, I've been an advocate, my organization has been an advocate for people with psychiatric disabilities and focused a lot on fighting back against coercion and criminalization and homelessness and suicide, and wanting people to have their rights, have their hope, have their dignity, and have their a wide array of options, and to not be discriminated against. Excuse me. But we're in a climate now where that is happening. We've come a ways from what I described earlier. There's more hope and more dignity and more options, more community. And the Bazelon Center and groups like ours has had a lot to do with that. But in recent months, even with all the crime going up, people have labeled us, people with mental health issues, as the cause of that. And that's so heinous and so damaging to our community, because what that leads is to the policies of coercion, of criminalization, and institutionalization. I've never seen anything like it in all my years. And we're working closely with the Bazelon Center and others to try to hold ground and try to go back to moving ahead. But that's been my life. These folks are my life. They've given me so much. The Bazelon Center has done the same. And I'm just proud to be able to get this award and proud of the work that we've all done together. So thank you very much.
2022 Lifetime Advocacy Awardee Laura Van Tosh, founder and convener, Mental Health Policy Roundtable.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Van Tosh, and I'm the convener of the Mental Health Policy Roundtable. Grateful to be receiving this award today. I'm a white woman with dark rimmed glasses, graying short hair, and wearing a black top. In the background is the glare of sunlight coming from Seattle, Washington. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for this great honor. And I want to tip my hat to Holly O'Donnell, the Executive Director and CEO of the Bazelon Center. I'm very grateful for this award. It's felt like a lifetime already, and I've still got more years to go, but so far it's been an amazing ride. I just want to acknowledge Lois Curtis and Elaine Wilson from the Olmsted Supreme Court case. It's in their honor, too, that I accept this award. I felt strongly about the Olmsted decision. I've been doing a lot of advocacy around that. It's been, I forget how many years, but so many years of trying to implement that bill and that law that Ruth Bader Ginsburg set into motion. And I just want to acknowledge everyone behind that particular case. We have too many people that are still locked up in state psychiatric hospitals that need to come home to their local communities. And while we are developing housing and resources, so much more needs to be done to tear down the walls of separation and segregation that Olmsted decision helped to pave the way. So I'm just enormously grateful, gratified. I feel like Lois and Elaine are my sisters, and Holly and everyone else involved in implementing Olmsted and least restrictive settings possible. So I just want to thank everyone. And I did receive the award already in the mail, and it's sitting on atop my bookshelf, which is right above this laptop computer. So I want you to know that this award means so much to me. And while it's heavy in weight, it matters more than anything in the world. So thank you, Bazelon Center. Thank you, Led Rubenstein, who actually opened the doors to the Bazelon Center to me a long time ago, and everyone on the board of directors who have been serving or have served in the past. Thank you very much.
Earlier this year, we sadly lost Sally Zinman and her loving spirit. Thankfully, her work still lives on, and we recognize her as a Bazelon Lifetime Advocacy Award winner.
Sally is a white woman with white hair wearing round-rimmed eyeglasses. A photo montage of Sally speaking and marching, including her holding a sign that says, "Mad Pride." Artwork with a drawing and quote from Sally that reads, "Our definition of self-help."
There is always this real concerted effort to maintain this equalness among people, that we are people with the same life experience helping each other.
Continuing the quote, for us, self-help is advocacy and activism-based. Self-help is about freeing ourselves. It goes beyond breaking down the walls of institutions, but freeing our minds.
Welcome back. We have a great second half of the program awaiting you this evening, including tonight's performer, Lachi. One of the reasons why the center's work is so important to highlight this evening is because of the need in our country for greater awareness around mental health. The pandemic, while seemingly over, has brought to light the isolation, pain, and struggle that so many Americans face on their own mental health journey. And this is where you come in. Bazelon simply cannot do this work without you. So if you feel inclined, please consider a donation to the center by visiting www.bazelon.org/donate. Here to tell us more about how you can support the center and to carry tonight's program forward is Bazelon's board chair, Eve Hill. Eve is one of the nation's leading disability rights attorneys who continues her devotion to civil rights and fighting for equality. An attorney with Brown, Goldstein, and Levy, Eve takes on high-impact disability rights cases on behalf of individuals with disabilities and their families. Now, please join me in welcoming Eve to the program.
Good evening. I'm Eve Hill, Chair of the Board of Trustees of the Bazelon Center and a partner at Brown, Goldstein, and Levy. I'm a white woman with red hair wearing a royal blue dress. Congratulations to our Lifetime Advocacy awardees. Laura and Harvey, I couldn't be more honored to know you. And I was blessed to know Sally Zinman, who forever changed how I think about mental illness and treatment, including my own. The Bazelon Center means a lot to me, and I'm so proud to be here to kick off the celebration of the center's 50th anniversary. I've chosen to dedicate my spare time to working with the board and staff of the center because the center is truly special. It's brave, smart, creative, and strong. And it does a tremendous amount of important work with few resources. You and I need to fix that. I ask you to imagine, as I do every day, what the Bazelon Center could do with enough resources. Tonight, and through events all through the coming 50th anniversary year, you have the opportunity to change what we do every day. Right now, every day, we make agonizing decisions not to take valid cases that could establish, clarify, or strengthen the law and change people's lives in education, employment, healthcare, incarceration, family life, housing, and more. We have to, because we only have the resources to focus on one or two cases in any given area. I believe the Bazelon Center has the capacity, with enough resources, to change people's lives in all those areas. In fact, to change the world in those areas. So I hope you'll join me and the board and the Bazelon family and the Bazelon alumni in supporting the center. You can do it right now at bazelon.org/donate. We'll wait. Now I'm honored to introduce Stefanie Lynn Kaufman-Mthimkhulu, who is the recipient of our Emerging Advocate Award. Stefanie is a white, queer, and non-binary, disabled, neurodivergent care worker and educator. They show up for their community as an organizer, parent, doula, peer supporter, and writer. Stefanie is the founder and executive director of Project Let's, a national grassroots organization and movement led by and for people with lived experience of mental illness and madness, disability, trauma, and neurodivergence. Rooted in the lineage of disability justice and mad liberation, Stefanie's work focuses on building non-carceral, peer-led mental health care systems that exist outside of state systems. These systems reimagine what we think we know about mental illness and support the development of trauma-responsive practices that support whole body-mind healing. They also serve on the board of directors for IDHA, the Disability Justice Youth Center, Neurodivergent U, and the Lived Experience Advisory Council for the Journal of Psychiatric Services. They are the author of We Don't Need Cops to Become Social Workers and the editor of Abolition Must Include Psychiatry. As you can tell by that brief summary, Stefanie does more in a day than I do in a week. Congratulations, Stefanie, on receiving the Bazelon Center's Emerging Advocate Award, and thank you for your work.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stefanie Lynn Kaufman-Mthimkhulu, and I am a white, non-binary person with short, blondish hair, wearing a pink shirt, and a red and white beads around my neck. I'm sitting on a wooden bench in front of a yellow wall, and I am so excited and honored to be the recipient of the 2022 Emerging Advocate Award. I first want to thank Eve Hill for her introduction and the entire Bazelon Center staff and board. I've long respected and turned to Bazelon's work for guidance and support, so I deeply appreciate being recognized in this way. Rooted in my own lived experiences as a multiply disabled psychiatric survivor and political lineage within disability justice movement spaces, I've been involved in peer-led advocacy and organizing for MAD liberation for over 10 years, and more formally in my role as the founding director of Project Let's. At Project Let's, I've collectively been invested in building culturally and trauma-responsive community healing options, freeing folks from psychiatric confinement, developing holistic and anti-carceral crisis response systems, building radical peer support relationships, and creating new frameworks for understanding our experiences as MAD people outside of medicalized and pathologized lenses. Engaging in work that is grounded in visions for long-term healing justice and liberation means that we don't always see the immediate or direct impacts of our work. We hope that we plant enough seeds in the right places and that our piece connects with someone else's and creates an interconnected web of transformative change. So I feel immense gratitude in being recognized for my advocacy work, and I want to name that it would not be possible without the people who paved the way before and alongside me, including my own Ashkenazi Jewish and Boricua ancestors, movement ancestors such as Sally Zinman and Stacy Milburn, and the Black, Brown, Indigenous, queer, and trans disabled folks that birthed and continue to steward disability justice. I also want to uplift all the brilliant MAD and disabled comrades I have known and worked with, and those that may never be named or recognized. I remain always in solidarity with my comrades in cells, cages, institutions, and circumstances that limit their ability to decide what to do with their bodies at this moment in time. I firmly believe in and fight for the abolition of all carceral systems, including our current psychiatric system. To me, abolition is about creating the conditions that make outcomes that cause further trauma and harm, like forced treatment, chemical incarceration, and guardianship, unimaginable or impossible. My goal is to continue imagining and building beyond the limits of the carceral ceiling, and I believe that any time we intervene counteractively against these systems, we are finding a piece of freedom. Thank you again to the Bazelon Center for recognizing my contribution to this web we're all building and for being partners in this work.
Video montage from various Bazelon supporters and staff titled, "Why Support Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law?"
Hey, I think it's amazingly important to donate to the Bazelon Center. Why? They are the premier organization working for the rights of adults and children with mental disabilities.
I work with the Bazelon Center and donate to the Bazelon Center because it's one of the bravest, smartest, most creative, and impactful organizations in the disability rights movement.
To give is to support those folks who usually don't have anyone else who is advocating for them. So it's important that we give to this incredible organization so that those folks who are pushed to the fringe, who this country doesn't serve, can receive the advocacy and support that they deserve.
Were it not there, so many more people would be in institutions, in jails and prisons, homeless, at risk for suicide. It's the work that the Bazelon Center done that is so worth your donations.
Well, because me and many others in my family have depression and anxiety and have struggled with that. And because it allows me to use my privilege and my education and my talents to try to make things better for people who deserve and need inclusion.
Through your work, literally thousands of individuals today able to enjoy a home in the community, a job, education, and all the community amenities that non-disabled individuals enjoy. Most folks out there won't know who you are or what role you play, but for those of us who do, we want to thank you for these past 50 years.
They're advocating for our communities with lived experience, with mental health disabilities, and they do it in a way that is in solidarity with us and uplifts our voices in policy, as in addition to just litigation.
And for me, Bazelon's focus on this work in a really simple way actually validates the reality of the discrimination, the violence, the oppression that our community members face. We're so often told that what we experienced is not true or could not have happened. And we're always seen as unreliable narrators of our own experiences. But Bazelon's work really uplifts and validates that.
To donate, visit www.bazelon.org/donate. Next, Ira Burnham.
Good evening. I'm Ira Burnham, Legal Director of the Bazelon Center. I'm a white male with some black hair and a white beard, wearing a white dress shirt. It's a pleasure to honor, during our 50th year, Elizabeth McCallum of Baker and Hostetler as Lawyer of the Year. Beth is a talented lawyer, very generous with her time, and wonderful to work with. She is a current and active member of the Bazelon Center's board, in which capacity she has helped in many ways to keep us strong and move us forward. In her pro bono work on behalf of the center, she's authored a number of important and also challenging to write briefs in critical cases in the Supreme Court. Among them, and most recently, in the CVS case, a case that threatened to upend much of disability discrimination law, she took on the task of persuading the Supreme Court that it would be wrong for the court to address the dangerous issue it was poised to decide, namely whether the law outlawed not only intentional discrimination, but also discrimination that was inadvertent or thoughtless. In Ivey versus Morath, Beth explained how and why the Americans with Disabilities Act applied to state and local programs that were implemented through private actors. Although the case was about driver education programs, it had profound implications for the application of the Americans with Disabilities Act to mental health and other service systems. In University of Alabama versus Garrett, her brief on behalf of over 100 historians and scholars explained the nation's long and egregious history of discrimination against people with disabilities, a circumstance that was critical to the constitutional analysis of whether Congress had authority to impose on states the requirements of the ADA. In California versus Texas, she filed a brief on behalf of the entire disability community, defending key provisions of the Affordable Care Act. As Holly has said, when we need help, Beth shows up. For that, for your sound advice and keen insights, and for helping to keep disability law so far safe from the Supreme Court, we recognize you as the Bazelon Center's Lawyer of the Year.
2022 Lawyer of the Year awardee Elizabeth B. McCallum, Esquire, of Baker and Hostetler, LLP.
Good evening, everybody, and I am so glad to be here and to accept this award. My name is Beth McCallum. I am a plumpish, middle-aged white lady with reddish blonde hair, blue eyes, tortoiseshell glasses, and a red dress. Thank you so much, Ira, for the introduction. Thank you. I'm so excited about this award because working with Ira and the other lawyers from the Bazelon Center and the community of lawyers who do this work has been such a privilege over the years. It's one of the things of which I'm most proud of having done. I've been working with Ira and the Bazelon Center on amicus briefs since I was a baby lawyer for almost 2 decades. No, more than 2 decades now. For me, it's been educational and eye-opening, from the very first brief that I worked on, which was a Supreme Court brief that set out the massive history of governmental discrimination against people with disabilities, and ended up with an appendix that was like that thick. The other brief that is such a memory for me is we did a brief in the Second Circuit telling personal stories of people who, through the work of the Bazelon Center and other advocates, were able to move out of group homes into independent supported living situations. And, doing those interviews and even rereading the brief, getting ready today, just brought tears to my eyes, because it's people who were talking about, look, all I want to do is get in my own place and have a cup of coffee and make some buttered toast, and be independent. It's also been an incredibly professionally rewarding set of things to work on. You will get on, I would get on, you do get on these calls with Ira and the other lawyers, and they are such high-level strategy calls about complex issues and about how not only do we win this case, but how do we plan for the next 10 cases, and how do we nationally make sure that we best advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. It's been, for a lawyer nerd, it was just kind of a dream experience. And so thank you, all of you. I do want to say thank you so much to my law firm, Baker Hostetler, for being incredibly supportive of all of my work on these matters over the years, to all of the various partners and associates and paralegals and staff members who did most of the work on these briefs over the years. Thank you again to Ira, to Holly, to everybody at the Bazelon Center, and thank you so much for this award.
Return to the Bazelon CEO, Holly O'Donnell, in the studio.
I hope you are enjoying and learning a lot tonight. This next award is one of my favorites, Innovator of the Year. The Innovator of the Year award goes to people who find new, creative, and long-lasting ways to make big changes. Our hope is that the Bazelon Center's spotlight helps expand and accelerate these new ways of helping people and solving complex problems. Let me tell you about tonight's awardee, Vanessa Green. Vanessa is the co-founder and executive director of Call BlackLine, a peer-led call line. In 2014, following the killing of Michael Brown, and long before 9/88, Vanessa started BlackLine to provide hope and to promote social justice through immediate crisis counseling, and to collect information on negative police contact. Vanessa leads BlackLine with an unapologetic Black, LGBTQIA, and Black femme lens. You can learn more about it. She's got a really great website at blackline.com. Now get this. She has a full-time job for the County of San Diego, while at the same time, she leads BlackLine. I'm an executive director. I could not have another full-time job. So when you meet someone like Vanessa, you immediately want to invest in their work, and you also want to celebrate them. I'm proud to present tonight's Innovator of the Year award to Vanessa Green. Vanessa, congratulations and much love and admiration from us to you. We look forward to working with you for a long time. Over to you.
'22 Innovator of the Year awardee Vanessa Maria Green, MA of Call BlackLine.
My name is Vanessa Green. My pronouns are she, her, they. I am a dark-skinned Black woman. I have 2 goddess braids in my hair. My hair color is gray and black. I'm wearing like a deep plum lipstick. I have rainbow-colored glasses. I'm wearing a black cardigan over a white and black flowered dress. And I have 2 gold earrings in each ear. Good evening, and thank you, Holly O'Donnell, for that incredible introduction. I want to thank Bazelon Center for Mental Health and Law for this honor as Innovator of the Year. Receiving an award from an organization that has advocated for the civil rights, full inclusion, and equality of adults and children with mental disabilities for 50 years is humbling and hella awesome at the same time. Although I'm the founder, Call BlackLine is the creation of so many incredible Black femmes and comrades throughout the country. We are changing the face of crisis hotlines because our people have always found a way of reinventing and improving the spaces that exclude us. We live in a culture that does not believe many of us when we speak our truths, particularly those of us who live with multiple marginalized identities. We live in a culture that gaslights us and conditions us to believe it is all just in our heads when we speak out about the lived experience of our bodies. We live in a culture that tells us we cannot trust ourselves. We live in a culture that tells us we cannot trust our bodies and the stories they hold. Call BlackLine believes in everyone's stories and experiences. Call BlackLine listen to those who feel disconnected, hurt, invisibilized, pushed to the fringe, and we provide affirmation and support to Black, Indigenous, and people of color, queer, gender nonconforming folks as they navigate so many complexities here in the US and Canada. We work hard every day during interactions with anyone that they are human and valuable. Our callers deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, no matter who they are or their life circumstances. Humanity in the United States is centered around those who are privileged and those considered to be on the fringe are not deserving of basic human rights. But at Call BlackLine, we dispel that myth by honoring, supporting, and witnessing every caller's experience. Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer folks live with mental wellness issues. This country does not provide impacted communities with the needed care and support. Call BlackLine is that anchor in the storm of white supremacy, racism, and support people who just need an ear to listen. We do this for the love and care of the people. I accept this award on behalf of our many volunteers and the callers. Thank you, Bazelon Center for Mental Health and Law, for this award.
Next, the Bazelon family, Eileen, Richard, and Jill.
I'm Richard Bazelon. I'm 79 years old, Caucasian. I'm dressed in a short sleeve shirt, and I'm here with my wife, Eileen, and my daughter, Jill. I've known the Casey family for 50 years. I had the pleasure and honor of working with Senator Casey's father in the practice of law in the 1970s. I followed his career closely, and I've had the opportunity to follow the career of Senator Casey closely. The one thing that stands out about the Casey family is their absolute integrity, their absolute commitment to ethical standards, and honor in public service. They have also had a unique bond with working people throughout the state in all areas of the state. Their honesty, their integrity, their commitment has reverberated and supported their incredible popularity. One just very quick story, which I think to me reflects this, is that in 2016, pretty much the entire Democratic hierarchy establishment in Pennsylvania, none supported the then new candidate, Barack Obama. And the one prominent public servant who stood out from the very beginning as a supporter of Senator Obama was Senator Casey. And he had a major part to play in Barack Obama becoming president.
I'm Eileen Bazelon, Rick's wife and the proud mother of Jill Bazelon, who both Jill and I are members of the Bazelon Center board. When I first learned of Senator Casey's decision to run for the Senate, Rick and I decided to give a fundraiser for him at our home. And it was one of the highlights of my life. It was so fun to have them and to have a chance to talk to them, and also to be part of their campaign. I feel so lucky to be in the same state with Senator Casey.
And I'm Jill Bazelon here in Philadelphia with my parents, wearing a suit, and I'm 46 years old. Finally, we know that Senator Casey and his wife are the proud parents of 4 successful and accomplished daughters. On behalf of myself and my 3 sisters, Emily, Laura, and Dana, we salute and appreciate you. Thank you again, Senator, for being part of this exciting event and for your example of principled political leadership.
2022 Congressional Champion Awardee, U.S. Senator Bob Casey.
Good evening. I'm Pennsylvania U.S. Senator Bob Casey. I'm speaking to you from my home in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I have a bookshelf behind me as well as some family pictures that are on either side of me. I'm wearing a dark blue suit coat, a light blue tie, and a white shirt. I wanted to start by thanking the Bazelon Center and Eileen and Rick and Jill Bazelon for presenting me with the 2022 Capitol Hill Leadership Award. Thank you as well to Bazelon CEO Holly O'Donnell and Board Chair Eve Hill, both of whom have been great partners in the fight for disability rights for so many years. I also want to acknowledge 2 Pennsylvanians from the Bazelon board, Joyce Bender and Josh Verdi, for their tireless work all these years as advocates for the rights of people with disabilities. As you know, the Bazelon Center, its board, and its staff have been key partners in developing and promoting disability legislation for a long, long time. The center has also ensured that the rights established by legislation become a reality through policy and litigation. You were essential in helping secure additional funding for home and community-based services in the American Rescue Plan in 2021. We must continue to fight for additional funding for home care. I'll continue my fight for passage of the Better Care, Better Jobs Act and the work that we have to do ahead of us. This particular bill, the Better Care, Better Jobs Act, would increase the investment that we make in Medicaid for home and community-based services. It would benefit the millions of seniors and people with disabilities who rely upon home care to live independently. This bill would also help reduce waiting lists for those critical services. At last count, and this is an older number, 820,000 Americans waiting, not just for weeks or months, waiting for years for home and community-based services. My legislation would boost the wages of home health workers who are terribly underpaid in America. And this bill would also allow family caregivers the opportunity to return to work. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and I know that you'll be with me every step of the way. So again, thank you to the Bazelon Center for this honor, and thank you more importantly for the work that you do each and every day to advance the work of legal advocacy and the work that you do to lift up and support people with disabilities all across America. Thanks again.
Next, U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin.
Hello, I'm Senator Tammy Baldwin. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a Caucasian woman sitting in front of an American flag wearing a lavender blazer over a white shell. Thank you to the Bazelon Center for inviting me to join you this evening. I'm especially pleased to be with you as we recognize Jonathan Van Ness as your 2022 Ally Awardee. With strong allies like Jonathan, the Bazelon Center is making progress in representing and fighting for all people with mental health disabilities. I'm also proud to be an ally of this community, and I feel honored to participate in tonight's gathering. In my time in Congress, I've worked with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to fight for disability rights and to represent the more than 61 million Americans with disabilities. I want to take a moment to congratulate all of those at the Bazelon Center, including the Bazelon family, board, and staff, for 50 years of impact and service to this community. I know this is just the start of the work that's left to be done to achieve all that the ADA stands for as you make this a country that's more accepting and affirming for all people with disabilities. Tonight's Ally awardee knows that it truly takes a village to take on this monumental task. I had the pleasure of speaking with Jonathan back in 2019 for a wide-ranging discussion on politics and using your voice. And like so many people, I was immediately struck not only by Jonathan's authenticity and charisma, but also Jonathan's enthusiasm for learning how we all can make an impact in our communities and across the country. Jonathan is someone who has had an undeniable impact on so many. By calling out ableism and bringing greater attention and awareness to disability rights, Jonathan is using a far-reaching platform to educate, inspire, and to ultimately erase stigma. Finally, congratulations to all of tonight's awardees, to Holly O'Donnell and everyone at the Bazelon Center. Keep up the fight and great work that you've been carrying on these past 50 years. Now, please join me in welcoming tonight's Ally awardee, Jonathan Van Ness.
Good evening, I'm Jonathan Van Ness. I'm a person with a side part, a big smile, a beard, a pink sleeveless sweater, and I'm beyond honored tonight to receive the Bazelon Center's Ally Award. I understand how important it is for us to be allies in our lives and show up for communities in all the spectrums of human forms. We are so much stronger when we are together. I have so much faith in our community to come together and show up for everyone who needs help. I'm honored that you have given this award to me. It means so much to me. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me tonight. I love you so much. Thank you.
Next, Hy Feldblum, Vice Chair of the Ability One Commission.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hy Feldblum. I'm a white woman wearing a brightly colored top and a new blue headband that I just bought. I'm here to introduce Wade Henderson. And wow, it is an honor and a blast to introduce Wade, the recipient of this year's Bazelon's 2022 Social Justice Award. Wade is a gift to the cause of civil and human rights. His leadership, drive, strategic acumen, and passion have played an essential role in Congress's enactment of a range of civil rights laws over the past 3 decades. Here's how. Wade began his work as a legislative counsel in the Washington office of the ACLU in the 1980s, where he ultimately rose to being the associate director of the office. He then led the work of the NAACP's Washington Bureau for several years. And then, for 20 years, Wade was the president of LCCHR, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. LCCHR is the premier Washington, D.C. lobbying organization for civil and human rights. It is not an overstatement to say that every major civil rights law Congress has enacted over the past decades bears the stamp of LCCHR in one way or another. For 20 years, Wade led those efforts at LCCHR. In 2016, Wade, quote, retired from his role at LCCHR, to the extent Wade retires from anything, To underscore that point, 5 years later, Wade agreed to serve as the interim president of LCCHR as it made its transition to a new president. What I'm sure Wade thought would probably be just a few months' gig turned into providing, yet again, crucial leadership for close to a year and a half. Wade is special. There are few people in Washington who have the gifts he has. He brings a magic to working with coalitions, not an easy task. He is skilled in working with Congress and the administration, regardless of the political party in power. That is a gift. Among the many people who have benefited from Wade's gifts are adults and children with mental disabilities, the people for whom the Bazelon Center has advocated for with passion and commitment for over the past 50 years. It is thus particularly appropriate for Wade to receive this Social Justice Award at the 50th anniversary of the Bazelon Center. I met Wade 34 years ago when I started as a legislative counsel at the ACLU's Washington office. Over several years, I learned from watching and talking to Wade. Countless people have since benefited from Wade's mentorship. Wade uses his gifts to teach and advise others. That is often the most important legacy one can leave. As I said, Wade is special. To all of you in attendance now, and to the many who might watch this event later, I give you Wade Henderson.
2022 Social Justice Awardee Wade Henderson, Civil Rights and Human Rights Leader.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Wade Henderson. I'm a 74-year-old African-American, dark complexion, with close-cropped hair. I'm wearing a blue suit, and I'm wearing my Constitution tie, which is the tie of the signers of the American Constitution. I'm here in my home in Washington, D.C., in my den, and I have blue and brown curtains and a slight backdrop of the room. Hopefully that will help all of you connect with me this evening. Now, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Hi. It's deeply appreciated. Good evening, everyone. I'm so grateful to Holly O'Donnell and the extraordinary staff and board at the Judge David L. Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law for this tremendous honor. Holly, you are and remain one of my sheroes for the incredible work which was recognized by President George W. Bush for creating outstanding service learning opportunities for public school students here in Washington and beyond. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my friend, Attorney Jennifer Mathis, who's no longer with the Bazelon Center, but who did so much during my early tenure with the Leadership Conference to teach all of us that disability rights are indeed civil and human rights. Now, it's a privilege to be with all of you for the 2022 Bazelon Center Annual Awards. And what an incredible occasion it is, celebrating 50 years. That's 50 years of advocating for inclusion and opportunity for people with mental disabilities. 50 years of shaping disability rights advocacy at the U.S. Supreme Court. And 50 years of defending the right of people with disabilities to live free from ableism, racism, and discrimination in any form. Congratulations on this special anniversary. I also want to shout out my fellow awardees. It is truly an inspiration to be alongside these change makers, including Harvey Rosenthal, who has worked tirelessly throughout his career to promote strong mental health policy, and Vanessa Green, who is leading profoundly important work to interrupt structures of violence by building communities of care and healing. Now, while the politics and players may have changed over the past 5 decades, the Bazelon Center's determination has not. I remember the center during the early days of my first tour as president and CEO of the Leadership Conference. You were and continue to be an integral and essential partner in the fabric of the civil rights community, guided by a deep understanding that the fight for justice must be waged across all communities. Only in coalition is there strength, and we need that strength more than ever today. Now, we're gathering at a time when American democracy is facing an existential crisis, the likes of which we haven't seen in the modern era. What's at stake is nothing short of a de facto return to the Jim Crow era, and which is threatening our most foundational values. We're facing a more sophisticated set of tactics, to be sure, but all with the same intent: to block certain communities of people from participating in our democracy. This is a crisis that my generation thought we had resolved half a century ago and successfully defended in the decades that followed. That changed with the U.S. Supreme Court decision, Shelby County versus Holder, that gutted the heart of the Voting Rights Act in 2013. This year marks 9 years that our nation has endured without full voting rights protections. And the crisis has only accelerated since the 2020 election. The harm has been extensive and unrelenting, and it has disproportionately impacted people with mental and physical disabilities. Voters with disabilities are in every state and every community. And I know the Bazelon Center is leading tremendous work to ensure every voter can cast a ballot that counts. Now, of course, not only is our right to vote under attack, so too is the right of our children to learn the whole of America's story in schools. So too is the right of all people to control their bodies, lives, and futures. The Bazelon Center is also leading a fierce campaign around the case of the Health and Hospitals Corporation of Marion County, Indiana versus Tlefsky, a dangerous Supreme Court case scheduled for oral argument in November that challenges statutes establishing essential human and civil rights, including the ADA, Medicaid, SNAP, and others. And so too is the right of people to live free from the grip of white supremacy and to feel safe in our communities. Now, there is much to feel despair over, but disability and civil rights groups have a long and successful history of working in coalition to fight discrimination and achieve change on issues from healthcare to economic justice to voting rights. It is because of that legacy and because of groups like the Bazelon Center and the many thoughtful people among you today that I have tremendous hope for the future. This is not the end of our fight. It is the end of the beginning. Now, together, we will continue the journey for justice that has brought us this far and will take us even further. And we must never forget that disability rights are civil and human rights. Thank you all for this tremendous honor.
Next, Kenneth Feinberg, former member and board of trustees, Bazelon Center. Ken is a white man wearing eyeglasses and a dark gray suit.
I want to
seated
congratulate
in an office.
the Bazelon Center for this 50th anniversary celebration. I'm Ken Feinberg, an original board member when the Bazelon Center was created. I was a dear friend of Judge Bazelon and the entire Bazelon family. And the role of the Bazelon Center today is more important than ever before, whether it be legislative, whether it be advocacy in the courtroom, whether it be public policy regulations, rules, and terms. The Bazelon Center provides tremendous help. And I believe that will continue with its bang for the buck theory that on a relatively modest budget, it performs great service, not only to those with mental disability, but to the American people and our nation. So I am pleased and honored to be part of this very special occasion. I continue to support the center. I urge others to support the center and its great work. And I congratulate everyone involved, especially the Bazelon family, in all that it is doing to support the effort, and congratulate everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Bazelon Center.
Next, Jaylee Radziminski, Communications Manager, Bazelon Center.
For image description, I'm a Black and Japanese person with light tan skin. I have long brown curly hair and hazel eyes, and I'm wearing brown lipstick, and I'm sitting in front of a white background wearing a black collared shirt with a tan blazer over it. Good evening again, everyone. Again, this is Jaylee Radziminski, and I am so excited to join you all to kick off the 50th anniversary of the Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law. Through the Bazelon Center, one of my favorite initiatives this year has been working in partnership with the Legal Defense Fund to advance more community-based approaches to mental health to stop the disproportionate harm of police response, involuntary commitment, and incarceration of our Black community members who need mental health support or live with mental health disabilities. The other that has been really excited to me has been building a collective that hosts amazing community leaders like our awardees, Stefanie and Vanessa, to build more power and collaboration with other lived experience advocates working to decarcerate mental health and discrimination and create more community-led support systems that are friendly to BIPOC and LGBTQIA+ communities in the mental health intersection. Today, I'm also excited to share the importance of mental health in athletics. As a past national junior Olympian and college track and cross country athlete, I can attest that sports is an empowering place where you gain mentorship and learn resilience, goal setting, and other lifelong skills needed to just be successful in all aspects of life. It was also my personal introduction to activism. As a high school student, when I learned students with disabilities were often not allowed to compete in competitive high school athletics, I advocated for my school to start the Champions Together program to become a unity school that brought Special Olympics into our school athletics, created integrated track relays and basketball games, and held more integrated events throughout the school. Now, many of those students after me have become statewide champions, and I'm super proud of them. And as you can see, sports isn't only about how fast you run, how high you can jump, or how many medals you win. It's participating in a legacy of bringing people together, breaking down boundaries, building community, and celebrating the human experience of overcoming the obstacles set before us. Today, I am super, super excited to introduce an incredible advocate that basically is great at all the above and helped our mental health movement in the athletic space and the nation at large. This athlete did not stop at being a gold and silver Olympic medalist. She used her platform to mentor young gymnasts, made gymnastic Olympic team a more inclusive space, and led national mental health campaigns. This awardee can also dance and won a season of Dancing with the Stars and has hosted programs on television. And to top it all off, last year I had the honor of seeing her perform in the Gold Over America tour, which brought together all of her skills as a host, dancer, gymnast that emphasized the importance of mental health to young people and their families across the nation. If you can't tell yet, I'm a big fan of hers, but seriously, this incredible person is paving the way for many young athletes now and all after her. I'm excited to introduce Olympic champion and mental health advocate, Laurie Hernandez.
Laurie is a brown woman with short curly brown hair. She's wearing a dark green blazer and white top, seated in a living room with white walls.
Hi everyone. Wow, am I honored to receive this award. Before anything else, I want to thank Jaylee Radziminski for her beautiful introduction and presentation of this award. Also, a huge thank you to the Bazelon board and staff for this, as well as my family who value mental health and the conversation that surrounds it. My mom is a social worker, my sister is a therapist, I see a therapist, so that conversation has always been open and I am extremely grateful. I'd also like to thank my agent, Cheryl Shade, who has always valued my mental health before anything else, any of the jobs we've done, and I'm forever grateful. I want to share a little bit about why this award means so much to me. When I first saw it, I got really emotional. Growing up in the athletic environment that I trained in, it made it very easy for kids like me with big feelings to feel so small. And within years of being there, I had gained all of these bad habits, and it was rough. But because of therapy and the love and support from my family and friends, I've been able to change those to coping strategies that now serve me, which is awesome. So in terms of the mental health community, there's lots of work that we still have left to do around the continuous conversation and actions over mental health, especially supporting those with mental health and psychiatric disabilities. Stigmas still run heavy in our society today, and I find it important that we break those down so everyone can get the care they need with no shame. To all of you in the audience, I know it's been a crazy few years, but I want you to hang in there. I want you to connect with your family and your community and those that love you, and check in with everyone. We can keep moving forward, especially if we do this together. So once again, huge thank you to the Bazelon Center. I also want to congratulate my fellow awardees, and to all of you, have the best night. Wishing you lots of health, gratitude, and love always.
I hope you have all enjoyed tonight's program as much as I have, but we aren't finished just yet. Grab a drink or a snack and get prepared to celebrate with Lachi, as she will be performing shortly. Thank you for having me join you this evening. It is an honor to do my small part to support your enormous efforts to help those with mental health disabilities live and thrive without the limitations of discrimination. Your support is needed more now than ever as the Bazelon Center launches into another 50 years. A special thanks to Holly O'Donnell, Eve Hill, and the entire Board of Trustees and staff, and tonight's awardees for your leadership. Again, thank you for having me here this evening. We look forward to seeing you at upcoming Bazelon events, including virtual and in-person events throughout the 50th anniversary year. Stay tuned and keep posted on new events and activities by visiting www.bazelon50.com. Now, please welcome Lachi.
Hello everyone, my name is Lachi, she, her, and I'm a Black woman with cornrows. I am wearing a short red dress and I'm holding my red and champagne glam cane. I am wearing white and red nails, and I have gold makeup, and I have rose gold jewelry because your girl always looks fly. I am standing in front of a black open piano because I will be performing a song for you all tonight. I'm a recording artist and a songwriter who has been recognized and been able to travel the world for my art. I identify as blind. I'm also a disability inclusion advocate, and with that, I advocate for disability culture in the music industry through my position on the board at the Recording Academy and also as founder and president of Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disability. So I mean it when I congratulate Bazelon on 50 years advocating for folks with disabilities. The board, the staff, you deserve high praise for all the work that you've been doing. And I also want to congratulate all of the awardees in the programming tonight. You definitely deserve to be recognized for your hard work. Folks should never be afraid to express themselves and their identity and be proud of every aspect of themselves, including their disability. I'm not just a musician who happens to be blind. I'm a musician who identifies as blind. So today I'm going to be performing a song for you all called Far. And I chose this song because 50 years advocating for the folks tomorrow to be able to come in and not have to fight as hard as we're fighting and to have their baseline and their zero start with the rights they deserve. We are the ones pioneering and paving the way, and no one has ever got this far.
The screen goes dark, then Lachi's seated at the piano.
Thank you for joining us for the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala.
A collection of slides rotate, providing information about the Bazelon Center. This concludes tonight's event. Thank you for joining us for the audio description of the Bazelon Center's 2022 Virtual Awards Gala. This is Bridget Melton signing off.